Welcome to Broyhill on aviation leadership. Now, perhaps the first thing you're thinking is, who does this guy think he is? Why do we need somebody else prattling on about leadership issues, leadership topics, organizational culture? There are so many hundreds of people, maybe thousands, out there in the ether and on YouTube talking about these subjects. Many with vast followings of people, many who have published many more books than my one that we'll talk about a little bit later. Well, I think there's two unique things I bring to the table that will make this discussion different. First of all, I've spent my entire adult life in aviation, 20 years in the Air Force and almost 20 years in business aviation. Everything I know about leadership has been spun in an aviation context, in a high reliability organization where if we did things wrong, people could die. That places a different spin, a different perspective on the leadership equation. The second thing that might make this different is I'm probably the only leadership speaker you're going to talk to or see that might have a martini while he's talking to you. That would be the Plymouth martini, extra dry with a slice of lime if you're curious. If you email me, I'll give you the recipe, my personal favorite. The reason is because leadership is entirely too serious a topic to be taken entirely seriously. So over the course of the next several weeks, we're going to delve into this book. We're going to talk about leadership traits, how different leaders manifest those traits, and we're also going to talk about some of my successes, faux pas, and failures that I've had in my leadership career that perhaps you can learn from. So a little bit about my street cred. 20 years in the Air Force, all of it in tactical aviation. I flew the OV-10 Bronco. I was a ground forward air controller, worked a lot with the Army. I was an A-10 driver, very privileged to fly that airplane, got to fly it all over Europe at 250 to 500 feet during the Cold War, an amazing experience. Transitioned to the F-16, flew that in Korea, and then flew it in the schoolhouse at Luke Air Force Base. When the time came for me to make the decision about what I wanted to do when I grow up, I could have gone to Southwest Airlines. A lot of my friends were making that transition, and they would describe it to me, and I would say, doesn't really sound like what I want to do. But a friend of mine had a Sabreliner 65, and I called him up and I said, Wayne, can I just sit in the right seat of your jet and just see what this business aviation thing is like? He graciously offered me that invitation, actually paid me to do it, and for the better part of a year, I flew as a co-pilot to his captain in the Sabreliner 65, and we flew all over the U.S., and I fell in love with business aviation, chose that as my career afterwards, and haven't looked back. I won't bore you with all the job titles and things that I've done in business aviation. What's most important to you is I've been in leadership positions. I've been at the senior vice president level, the vice president level multiple times. I've been a chief pilot and director of operations for Part 135. I've been a chief pilot and director of aviation under Part 91. So I've seen nearly all the facets of leadership in the business aviation context, which is one of the reasons why I wrote this book and one of the reasons why I did the research that supports it. Over the coming several weeks, as I said, we're going to go into the different traits in the book. And we're going to talk about how those traits are manifested and why it's something you might want to think about as a leader. In the meantime, I'm probably going to take some extra time and finish this excellent martini. And perhaps you and I can join one another and have a leadership discussion again here in the near future. Until then, tailwinds.